Now that I have a firearm in business, I can take some of this wet wood that's laying around on the ground, everything that's damp, and just kind of stack it around the outside of my fire, and the heat from that will start drying everything out for me and help it burn easier. Hey, what's happening, guys? Kevin here. Thanks for joining me at Midwest Woodcraft. In this video, we're going to do a bit of a challenge. My good buddy Billy Joe Denney here on YouTube posted a video here a while back. He did a one-stick fire, and then he tagged a couple gentlemen. I wasn't tagged specifically, but he left it open for the viewers to take the challenge if they liked. So, I like, and I'm going to go ahead and do it. Okay, so I've got a piece of, I think this might be black locust. It's not super yellow, but I think that's what it is. Not 100% sure, but that doesn't really matter. Got a good sized chunk of wood here. It's probably about the length of my forearm, a little bit longer. A few inches in diameter. Pretty nice sized chunk. So what I'm going to do is, whether some of you like it or not, I'm going to start batoning this down. Really solid. I don't think it's black locust. Pretty white in the middle. Not sure what it is. Maybe some kind of maple, but it looks like it's going to split fairly easy. Might be hickory, actually. So we'll go ahead and quarter it. Got the LT Wright Dairy Wines Bushcraft Hunter here. So she can take all the abuse I want to throw at her and then some. I have no doubt about that. I'm just going to continue to keep busting them in half and then busting my halves in half. And I'm going to eventually have my tinder, kindling, and fuel all from this one stick here. Stuff's nice and dry in the middle. We actually got quite a bit of precipitation the last week or so. The ground's all good and damp out here. And this has got some dampness on the outside, but the inside's nice and dry. That's kind of the purpose of this. If you're out in bad weather conditions, wet weather conditions, and you can't find any dry materials to get your initial fire started, then you find a fairly substantial piece of wood, split it down, and get to that dry stuff in the middle. The outside of it might be wet, but the inside of it should still be fairly dry. Now I have all these pieces. I'm going to put some of them down here out of the way. I'm going to bust a few of them up into about thumb-sized pieces or so for our fuel wood. Because we're going to need this fire to be sustainable, which means it's going to have about 1 inch diameter pieces burning. And that way, when I know I have that size, fairly good size fuel wood like this burning in my fire, then I know I can walk away from it for a few minutes and address other tasks that I might need to and things like that. I know a lot of guys do not agree with batoning your knife, and that's fine. If you do not like the baton, then use a hatchet or an axe. Just be safe, whatever you're using. Now I'm kind of trying to bust some of these down into more medium-sized pieces, about pencil size or so. A little bit bigger. And you can see sometimes chunks just fly off of them, and sometimes that just happens. Working with natural materials, stuff don't always split, you know, perfect the way you want it to. Down here, you can't see, but I have some logs kind of laid down like rails. I'll show it to you before we get the fire going. And I got all my material sitting up on those rails, taking advantage of this little bit of sun I have now, trying to dry this stuff out a little bit more as I'm working. Stuff's got a little bit of punkiness to it, so it's a little bit stubborn on these smaller pieces here. You're not always going for picture perfect pieces. You just want to get the dang job done. It's always nice when the pictures look pretty, for sure, but that's not always the most important thing. I like to switch back and forth sometimes between left and right hand. That way I kind of get some practice doing everything both ways here. These pieces that split really nice, I'm going to save them for trying to get my real fine material. This split stick is actually one of my favorite skills to practice. Of course, you get your fire skills going, you get a little bit of knife handling or tool handling, whatever tool you decide to use. You get a little bit of practice handling that tool. So it's a nice exercise. I really like it. It's one of my favorites. So we got some good size good pile of medium-sized stuff there, and then we got all this left to get our feather sticks and our tinder and our really fine, like our kindling, like pencil lead size pieces. So I'm going to work on those now. Let's try to split off as fine a pieces as I can here. Sometimes if it doesn't want to split really well, I'll just make these kind of really coarse giant curls. And that don't always work either. That's alright, they'll still burn. Sorry about that. I forgot to put a fresh battery in, and I got that dreaded beep in the middle of filming there, so I apologize for that. Got a good fresh one. We got 3 hours now if we need it. Hopefully we don't need it. So as you can see, this isn't going textbook for me as far as getting my small stuff. I get into some of these bigger pieces over here, it might go a little bit easier. But this stuff is already really thin, so it'll burn. It should burn up really fast, so it's still going in the little pile. Alright, so I've got some little stuff there, and now I'm going to make some feather sticks, hopefully. least a bunch of curls. Either way. I'm going to start out making some really coarse feathers. Or curls. These curls are coarse, but I'll throw them on with my pencil lead size stuff, or on right after my feather sticks, and those will help out a lot. As far as I'm concerned, really, it's not all that important that the curls are on the stick. It just makes them a little easier to keep track of. They don't go flying all over the place. They don't go anywhere in the wind. I always like to start out with some really coarse curls, and then that one's not the prettiest in the world, but we'll use it. I'll put a few on this side too. And this one I'm going to try to make a little bit finer. Like I keep saying, all these ones that fall off of the stick, go ahead and keep those too. Any of your byproducts, thin slivers, curls, anything from carving, or making your fire prep here, you want to keep. Alright, there's two. 3 feather sticks. That's up to you. I just like those because I can kind of use them to bail myself out sometimes if I get into a jam when I'm making my fire. So I got 1 piece left here. And that's how I'm going to make my tinder. Now, some of them feather sticks, if you make them really fine, you can usually light them. I could probably light a couple of those if I worked hard enough at it. But by taking the spine of my knife here, I'm going to make some fuzz. It's going to be really fine stuff. It's going to make pretty decent tinder. Maybe. And make a liar out of me. You can see it's kind of working. It's just this piece being a little punky, making it a little difficult. Well, normally this goes a little quicker than this, but it happens sometimes. You can see I'm getting there though. I'm getting a little pile of really fine material here. I could probably light this pile, but I would really like to have more to work with. Let's try a few different pieces here, see if we can't find something that works a little better. That seems a little better. Okay, so we'll make an adjustment. I got a pretty decent pile of tinder here. I got pretty fairly decent sized pile of curls here, along with my feather sticks. So I'm just going to make a bunch more curls, and nothing pretty. We use those to light it. Alright, so I'm calling that good. Just real quick before I get going, I have all my fire prep here. I have my tinder, I have all my kindling here, I have 3 feather sticks. One's pretty good, and then the other 2 are so-so. But they should work fine. I've got a nice pile of curls here. It's not quite a hat full, but it's a pretty decent sized pile. And then I have my small, medium, and large fuel wood here. So I'm going to try to light this with my ferro rod, and then I'm going to start adding some of these curls, feather sticks, and then the small, medium, and large fuel. I'll probably hold some of these curls back just in case something fails and I need a little bit of something to bail me out. I usually save one of the feather sticks for a bailout stick too. So I'll quit talking and see if we can get this going. Okay, see if I can get this. This bark started breaking on me, so I'm going to transfer it over to a bigger piece. Fluff this up a little bit. And we'll see how it goes. One feather stick, some of the curls, and then start putting my small fuel on. It should burn really quick. And that way, if I lose my flame, start to lose my flame, I can always grab a few more curls, toss them on there, help myself out a little bit. Now admittedly, one thing I do a lot, and I've made a lot of fires, is I'll rush this a lot of times, because I have made a lot of fires, so I think, oh, well, I got this. I get overconfident, and I'll just grab all of this little stuff, and I'll just toss it right on there. Sometimes that works out just fine. Sometimes it doesn't work out so well. So I'm just going to slowly feed this fire. Still have quite a few curls here I can use. And I can confirm this is hickory. Get all my medium stuff on here. And then I'll start adding this bigger stuff. And then when this bigger stuff catches, then I'll know the fire is sustainable. See, the wind's kind of blowing this way, so I'm sitting all this fuel wood up to where the flame is blowing into it. And I still have 2 feather sticks and a few curls. I can hear it sizzling a little bit, some of the moisture cooking out of it. She's burning. I'm going to call that sustainable. Billy Joe, I'd like to thank you for putting up the video, brother. Had a lot of fun taking the challenge. Wasn't the most flawless execution in the world, but I got a fire, so I guess I completed it. Really looking forward to seeing what some of the other guys come up with. I'm going to be checking some of the other guys that said they were going to do the challenge as well. If you're not a subscriber to Billy Joe Denney, get over there and check him out on YouTube. Give him a sub. He's got some really awesome videos. I'm going to go ahead and tag a couple of buddies of mine. My good friend Jamie Boggs at Burning River Bushcraft. He has a really awesome channel, so if you haven't checked him out yet, definitely get over and check his stuff out. And then Brian Sells from English Mountain Outdoors, another awesome channel. Brian has a lot of great skills, so get over there and check those 2 channels out. Definitely, I'll put links to them in the description down below to make it easier for you to find them. And yeah, had an awesome time. Thanks everybody for coming along. Thanks to Billy for putting up the challenge. And hopefully those 2 accept. If so, guys, thanks a lot. I appreciate it. Anybody else wants to take the challenge, go right on ahead, man. Just stick a comment or a link to your video in the comments down below. I'd really love to see what you come up with. So I guess all I got to say is, I'm Kevin. Thanks for watching Midwest Woodcraft. Hope to see you guys in the woods real soon.